Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, my students? I hope that you're happy and healthy and ready for today's lesson, which is the grammar. But before we go to the grammar lesson, let's revise what we previously took in the listen and discuss, and also the pair work. We, of course, took some, we discussed jobs, which is the theme of this unit. We asked a few questions, name a few jobs that you think would be very rewarding. Of course, we discussed some rewarding jobs and some unsatisfying jobs, like examples here: a teacher, policeman, and also the driver, and also the firefighter. Of course, all of these are some rewarding jobs. And then we took some clues, if you remember the clues for the job. For example, here I often need to spend quite a lot of time researching the natural resources and materials of an area before I can design and start to construct. If you notice here, the construction is the clue, and also the word buildings here. So construction and buildings, all of these are clues to know that he is an engineer. And also here the race car driver, when he said, even though I spend a lot of time driving, I never really arrive at a destination. Also the zoologist here, when he said that he spends his time in a lab, which means that he is a scientist who also cares about animals. That's how we knew that he is a zoologist. Also the nurse here, you can know from the picture here actually. I have recently been promoted, and when he said that he is responsible for the surgical ward here, that's how we know that he is a nurse. And the surgeon who is working with cutting and sewing, but instead of fabric, he's cutting and sewing people when he is doing surgery. And also the air traffic controller, which has a lot of responsibility actually, when he said that he works with a screen and with pilots. That's how we know that he is an air traffic controller. So these are today's objectives. Build a sentence with stress on the action. Rephrase a sentence to the correct form. So we'll be rephrasing some sentences. Identify the grammatical form in a real situation. Use the base form of a verb with the subjunctive, which is today's lesson, the subjunctive. Use the subjunctive with correct verbs and expressions. Use I'd like, I'd want correctly. Put words in order to form sentences. Write sentence according to a picture. So this is today's lesson, the subjunctive. We use the subjunctive to stress. So this is the main reason here to use the subjunctive, is to stress the importance or the urgency of an action. So why do we use the subjunctive? To stress and the importance of the action, to give more urgency to the action. The subjunctive use the base form of the verb, and also always remember that the subjunctive always use the base form of the verb. For example, here the manager insisted that he work late. Work is the base form here. So the manager insisted, this is the subjunctive here, that he work late. So the word insisted put more urgency on the verb work. It is important that you be at the meeting. Of course, the base form here is be, and the subjunctive is important. It is important, so here's the stress word to give it more urgency. The subjunctive is used with certain verbs and expressions like the following: ask, demand, insist, recommend. When you say, I insist that you come, so it means that it is important that you come. I'm stressing the importance of you coming. When you say, I insist that you come. And also here, request, require, suggest, urge, also the word urge. When you say, I urge you to complete your mission or to complete your homework. So it means that it is very important that you complete your homework. When you say, I urge you, it means that it is very important. Also here, it is essential, it is imperative, it is important, or it is necessary. All of these words are plain and obvious, of course. When you say it is essential, it's very and extremely important. It is imperative, it is important, it is necessary. All of these subjunctives express how important or urgent the action is. The subjunctive follows the sentence pattern. How do we write the subjunctive? The form of the sentence, the pattern of the sentence. Let's look at it together. Verb or expression plus that plus the subject plus not if it is negative and the base verb. Again, the pattern or the form of the subjunctive sentence, we begin with the verb or the expression plus the word that, then we put the subject, then we put the base verb, and we add not if it is negative. Here are some examples. It is essential. It is essential. So this is the expression, not the verb, an expression. That you, so the subject here is you, and we have the verb dress. So the base verb here is dress. Again, it is essential that you dress appropriately. Then you can continue on with the sentence. So the expression here is it is essential, and we have the word that, then the subject you, then the base verb dress, then we continue with the word appropriately. Next, she asked, so this is a verb here. She asked that we the subject here, not be late. So this is a negative here. We don't say don't be late, we say not be late. Again, she asked that we not be late. Again, she asked that we not be late. If you notice the pattern, the verb is asked, then the word that, the subject is we, then we added the word not because it's negative, and the base verb is be, then we continue with the word late. Notice here the subjunctive uses the base form of the verb. Often in cases you would expect another form. Again, the subjunctive uses the base form of the verb. Often in cases that you would expect another form. Sometimes you expect another form, not the base form, some other form. Always use the base form with the subjunctive. For example, here, the sentence, he usually finishes his work on time. When we turn this into a subjunctive, we say it is important that he finish. Notice the difference here. Finish this job on time. So when you expect the present simple, it's the base form here. Always the subjunctive, we put the base form. I will say the example again. He usually finishes because he usually finishes. This is a present simple. When we turn it into the subjunctive form by adding the expression imperative or necessary, it is imperative that he finish. That he finish. We don't say that he finishes. So again, this is why we said here the subjunctive uses the base form of the verb, where you would expect another form, like here you expected the present simple, but no, we put it in the base form. The subjunctive forms of the negative by putting not in front of the verb. It doesn't use auxiliary verb or contracted forms. Again, as we said previously, we don't say don't, we say not. Ahmed isn't usually late for work. Again, it doesn't use auxiliary verbs or contracted forms. We don't shorten the form. It is important that Ahmed not be late. If it's negative, just write the word not. Another example here, you don't drive your father's car. You don't drive your father's car. when you turn it into subjunctive, it's important that you not drive his car. We don't say don't, we say not drive his car without permission. Continuing on with the lesson here, I'd like you and the infinitive, I want you plus the infinitive. Two common phrases used to express a desire that someone do something are I'd like you plus the infinitive and I want you plus the infinitive. When you want someone else to do something, you say I'd like you to come with me, for example, or you say I want you to come with me. So again, this we say it to express a desire, something that you want, a desire that someone else, not you, someone else do something. For example, here, I'd like you to help with this project, or you can say, I'd like you to help me, for example. Another example here, I want you to finish the report this afternoon. I want you to finish, of course, this is the infinitive. I want you to finish the report this afternoon. This is me asking someone else a favor. I want you to finish the report this afternoon. So the infinitive is 2 plus the base 4. 2 plus the base 4. For example, here, to help, and also here, to finish. So what is the infinitive? It's 2 plus the base 4. I'd like you to help, or you can say, I want you to finish. I'd like you to do something and I want you to do something mean almost the same. They are almost the same. However, saying I'd like you to do something is a little more polite. So when you say I'd like you to help me, it's a little more polite than saying I want you to help me. It's a little more polite and less like an order. So sometimes when you say I want you to do something, it looks like an order, but when you say I'd like you, it looks like less like an order. I want you to do something can sound like an order, just as we said before. So I'd like you is more polite and looks less like an order than I want you to do something. Here's a language builder for you. In English, it is incorrect to say I want that you do something. The word that here, of course, is wrong. I want that you do something, or I'd like that you do something. Here are some examples. He asked that we arrive early tomorrow. So he asked, this is the subjunctive, don't mix the two together. He asked that we arrive early tomorrow. He wants us to arrive early tomorrow. The sentence with ask uses that clause. The sentence with want does not. Note also that the sentence with ask sounds more formal. The sentence with ask here looks like and sounds like more formal. Again, he asked that we arrive early tomorrow. So this looks like more formal than the other sentence. He wants us to arrive early tomorrow. So exercise A, he rearranged the words and phrases to form sentences. The first one is already done for you. Asks, I work on the weekend. My manager often that. So it's my manager often asks that I work on the weekend. Of course, you remember the subjunctive order of the sentence. So let's finish here the first one. Number 1, he that bring his resume to the interview, he recommended. Again, he that bring his resume to the interview, he recommended. So how do we put this in the correct order? That's correct. He recommended that he bring his resume to the interview. That he bring, the base form, don't say brings. Number 2, I, to tell me, want you about any problems you have. Again, I, to tell me, want you about any problems you have. So how do we solve this puzzle here? How do we rearrange the words Okay, let's see the answer here together. I want you to tell me about any problems you have. I want you to tell me about any problems you have. I want you. Or you can say, of course, I'd like you, but here it's I want you. Number 3, that it is imperative. So we have a subjunctive here. Wash his hands before entering the operating room, the doctor. Again, that it is imperative. Wash his hands before entering the operating room, the doctor. So, of course, the doctor has to, it's imperative that he washes his hands. So, I gave you a hint here to rearrange the words. Okay, let's check the answer here together. Yes, that's correct. It is imperative that the doctor wash his hands before entering the operating room. It is imperative that the doctor wash, don't say washes, focus to the base form, his hands before entering the operating room. Number 4, not demanded the boss he be late again, that. Not demanded, imperative here, subjunctive here. The boss he be late again, and the word that. So try to shuffle it to come to the correct answer. Okay, let's see the answer here together. The boss demanded that he not be late again. The boss demanded that he not be late again. The boss demanded that he not. We don't say don't. It is subjunctive. If it's negative, just say the word not be late again. Continuing with number 5, that you go home early. If you're not feeling well, and insist. So, how do we rearrange this correctly? Okay, let's check the answer here together. If you're not feeling well, I insist that you go home early. Or you can say, I insist that you go home early if you're not feeling well. So you have 2 correct answers here. Number 6, you applying for the job like to consider I'd. Again, you applying for the job like to consider and I'd. So, okay, let's check the answer here together. I'd like you to consider applying for the job. I'd like you, this is more polite and looks less like an order. I'd like you to consider applying for the job. Number 7, I look for a job in sales, suggested that my job counselor. I look for a job in sales, suggested that my job counselor. This is an easy one, actually. Okay, let's check the answer here together. My job counselor suggested that I look for a job in sales. Excellent. Number 8, not that you quit your job before you find a new one. It is essential. So we have a subjunctive. Now we know how the sentence will go. So that's correct. It is essential that you not quit your job before you find a new one. This is an easy one, of course. Don't quit your job unless you find a new one. Number 9, the waiting room, the nurse that be kept quiet requests. How do we answer this one? That's correct. The nurse requests that the waiting room be kept quiet. So be here is the base form. Again, the nurse requests that the waiting room be kept quiet. And number 10, that race car drivers, it is important the necessary safety precautions and the word take. So how do we answer this one? The subjunctive form of the sentence. Let's look at it together. It is important that race car drivers take the necessary safety precautions. Excellent. Exercise B here. Look at the pictures on page 5. What do you think is being said? Write sentence for each using the subjunctive or I'd like you, I want you plus the infinitive. So if you open your books here, page 5, you can look at the pictures and try to think about what is being said in these pictures. Write a sentence for each picture. Write a sentence using either the subjunctive, or you can say I'd like you plus the infinitive, or I want you plus the infinitive. So picture number 1, of course there's more than one correct answer. Picture number 1, I recommend you cut your hair short. I recommend you cut your hair short. So what about number 2, picture number 2? Okay, let's see the answer here together. I suggest that you try this on. I suggest that you try this on. What about picture number 3? Look at your book to the picture number 3. Yes, it's important that we catch this train. It's important that we, the subject here is we, catch this train. What about picture number 4? Picture number 4, let's see the answers here together. It is essential that you brush well twice a day. It is essential that you brush well twice a day. Next one. Okay, I want you to stop smoking. I want you to stop smoking. Also here, I want you to study the new proposal very carefully. Picture number 6. Of course, there's more than one answer. Just look at the picture and try to guess what are they saying. I want you to study the new proposals very carefully. And picture number 7, you can write, I'd like you to take 2 pills every morning. The doctor here in the picture. I'd like you to take 2 pills every morning. Exercise C, write sentences for these situations. Use the subjunctive and I'd like you or I want you plus the infinitive. So you will answer this on your own. Try to write some sentences by your own. The first one, imagine you are a doctor speaking with a patient who has a very unhealthy lifestyle. Very unhealthy lifestyle. The patient smokes, eats lots of fast food, doesn't get any exercise, and doesn't get enough sleep. What would you say to this patient? What would you say to this patient? For example, you can say, it is important that you stop smoking. It is imperative that you eat healthy, and so on. I just gave you 2 sentences. The second one, imagine you are a teacher speaking with a student who is doing badly in your class. The student is not studying for tests, is talking in class, is not doing homework, and does not take notes in class. What would you say to this student? Of course, you can use the subjunctive, or I'd like you to, or I want you to. You can say, I want you to be more careful with your studies. I want you to push harder. I want you to do your homework, and etc. So you can come up with any sentence you would like. Use I'd like you to, I want you to, or you use the subjunctive. For example, you can say it is important that you focus on your studies. Here's a fun fact. According to a survey by careerbuilder.com, 20% of workers in the US say that they are late for work at least once a week. 12% say that they are late twice a week. The 2 main excuses were traffic and lack of sleep. So some of them are late, and their excuses are the traffic, the heavy traffic, and the lack of sleep. And with that, we reach the end of this lesson. See you next lesson, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum.